Once the data has been received, we then basically use a number of validity checks to make sure that the data that we have received is accurate. Because immediately after the damage, once the data is received, it's gathered by the government line departments in a hurry. And in some places, the water is still standing, so it becomes very difficult for them to gather accurate data. So we use various plausibility and rationality checks to further fine-tune the accuracy of the data. And that is the data we use for our sector assessments, which basically include assessment of the direct damages, which is a monetary value which we attach to the losses that have been occurred in basically the physical assets. Then we also look at the indirect damages, which is looking at the economy losses due to disruption in the flow of goods, services, etc. And then finally, we come up with the needs part, which is really to replace the damaged and destroyed infrastructure, but by building it back better, so that in future, if there is a disaster or flooding, then the damaged and destroyed infrastructure which has been reconstructed, it can withstand the onslaught of the flooding. So that is basically the overall process that we follow. Now, there are a number of ways of doing this check. We go to the field. We've this time also used satellite imagery, which is for the first time in damage and assessments that satellite imagery has been used to validate the data, and it's been done very successfully, both during the damage gathering exercise as well as during the validation exercise. Now, we are at the stage where this exercise has almost come to a final stage. We are now fine-tuning the assessments. We are fine-tuning the strategies. We are having discussions and consultations with the provincial governments as well as with the federal government. And at this stage, we are reaching convergence on the strategies that we are going to be recommending in the damage and assessment for the government to follow and for the line agencies to follow in the reconstruction. The final assessment, which is basically the needs assessment, which is going to be more important to the government and to all of the stakeholders, is also going to be of relevance. This is going to give a complete picture of what the overall priorities are for the government for the various sectors, and then also the priorities across the different regions, the 4 provinces and the other regions. And this will then be taken forward by the government primarily, but by also the donors, to start detailing the strategies, doing the detailed damage assessments, and then also in parallel establishing the various needs on a project-by-project basis.